Hey guys, so we are talking about in the video about the introduction to VMware Vsphere 6.7, and for that we were talking about some of the recommendations in the market for the combination of courses, and I was talking about this slide here where there are must-haves and good-to-have courses. And other than that, the scope of VMware in the market, we must know that. So we would know that if we do that, where are we standing then? Is it really required in the market? Well, pretty much it is. Guys, any type of question, anytime is most welcome. I love answering questions as long as it's about the topic, right? Just kidding. So please do let me know if any questions you have. Just let me know that you have a question. Okay, so I'm just gonna go for some diagrams as well. And suppose you have here Toronto branch. Okay, so the Toronto branch here, and then you have multiple servers here, right? So those multiple servers, obviously they have a domain controller, they have DNS, DHCP, and they have file servers, WSUS server, and all other servers, right? So, and then you have hypervisors there, and you have VMware, and those hypervisors, you have installed the hypervisor called, in VMware, the hypervisor is ESXi. I'm going to talk about hypervisor. It's just a small software that you install on a bare metal machine or a new hardware. Suppose you purchase $5,000 HP or Dell or IBM machine. On top of that, instead of installing an operating system, you install a small software called hypervisor. The only purpose of hypervisor in a empty machine is to host virtual machines, right? So always remember that you are you're going to install hypervisor on an empty hardware to host virtual machines. And what's the benefit of that? Why can't we just install an OS on a hardware, and then on top of that the applications? Why we need to just deploy virtual machines? So before I go to the scope of VMware in today's market, I would just go for another diagram to quickly just talk about that too. In last decade, what was happening, you had rows and rows and rows of servers here, right? If we go to data centers, maybe you've seen data center diagram before. If we go to data centers, now that's rows and rows of servers there, right? And if we go to images, so yes, you must have seen that a lot on the internet. So these are data centers and rows and rows of servers there. So there were a lot of servers before, and what was the structure? How was the software installed? There was an OS there, and then there was a big enterprise grade application here, right? So OS and application, one OS, one application on one hardware server. So then you need a lot of space, and you need a lot of electricity to support that data center. So data centers used to be huge, right? Data centers used to be big. So when data centers are big, this means companies, it would cost a lot for companies to maintain big data centers, right? So then the virtualization came. Data centers. Then virtualization came. So virtualization said, hey, why are you installing so many hardware servers when we can have one big machine or one heavy machine? Heavy means more RAM, like maybe 1 terabyte RAM, and processor, right? And that is suppose 32 core processors, and SSD drives. So storage would be actually coming from SAN, and storage would be a lot of SSDs there, right? So that's a pretty fast and very high performing server. So on that server, why are you installing one OS and one application, right? So you can install, any questions? Yeah, no, right? Okay, I thought I heard something. Okay, so here, then you install a hypervisor, which is a small software, and that software has a very light footprint, so it gets installed very quickly. We're going to install that too. So this hypervisor from VMware is called ESXi. From Microsoft, the hypervisor is called Hyper-V. From Citrix, the hypervisor is called Zen Server. So I'm going to be repeating that, and repetition is gold here. When we repeat something again and again in different classes, you just remember it, you say it in the interview, and you impress the interviewer, right? So I'll try, I normally try during the course to prepare students for interview as well, or wherever you're talking about this technology, you should be very confident about this technology. If you have really given your time in the technology, if you repeated the labs at home, right? So your confidence level to talk about the different features of VMware will be different, right? So when you start talking about, suppose there's a fault tolerance feature, we're going to talk about what is fault tolerance, but suppose the interviewer asks about fault tolerance. You will be doing that with me, and then you will be doing that at home as well, which is what I'm going to push you for, that get that machine. I'm going to give you the hardware specs as well, and try to redo that. So you're confident when you talk about, when you spend so much time and effort on certain technology, your level of confidence will be different when you're explaining about that in an interview. Interviewer will know right away, oh yeah, this is the person we need, or this person knows what he or she's talking about, right? So, well, again, I'm talking about hypervisor ESXi. You put that hypervisor and hypervisor called ESXi on a physical server, that is empty HP server or Dell server or IBM. On top of that, now what you can do, you can create a virtual machine on top of a hypervisor, and second virtual machine, and third virtual machine, and fourth and fifth, well, whatever number of virtual machines this physical RAM can take, and how many number of virtual machines this processor can take, and how many virtual machines this storage can take. You can keep on adding. Some physical servers can take 50 virtual machines, depends on, suppose you have a virtual machine with domain controller. Now, domain controller does not take that much, of RAM and processor and storage. You have file server, FS, that might take more storage and RAM because hundreds of users are connecting to check their files. And then there is a web server. So on the web application, maybe it's an intranet, and the users are connecting, and it goes on. If it's SQL server, it requires a lot of RAM and a lot of processing. So each virtual machine is asking its share of RAM. Like each virtual machine has its own VRAM, virtual RAM, virtual processor, virtual proc or processor, and virtual storage, right? Virtual networking as well. So each of these virtual machines will be asking their share from the hardware version of that. So from the hardware RAM, each machine will be asking its share of virtual RAM. Suppose you give SQL Server 64 GB RAM, right? It should be 128 GB RAM. Others you give just 32 GB RAM here, and 32 here, and here you give just maybe 16 GB RAM or more. So the thing is that this will all be taken out, obviously, from the physical RAM, minus 1 terabyte, whatever you can give, right? So, but what is the benefit of this whole setup now as compared to this setup? So the benefit is that you don't need, okay, you were installing here an application. This was domain controller, this was a file server, this was a web server, and this was a SQL server. So because you installed all of them in one physical server inside a virtual machine, which exactly works like a physical server, like it's a virtual, but it works exactly like a physical server. Operating system thinks it is on a physical server, but it's not, it's in a virtual server. So now when you replace all that in the virtual machine, so you don't need a physical server for this, you don't need a physical server for that, you don't need a physical server for this. So this means that the data centers have enough space now free, so they don't have to maintain big data centers. The property rent will be less. The data centers will start shrinking, right? So last decade, that's what was going on. The data center, because of virtualization, the data centers started shrinking, right? And that's not all. I wish it had stopped here. So because of virtualization, data centers started shrinking, and now there are smaller data centers with fewer very high performing physical servers, and those physical. So if this is a physical server here with all these machines, if this goes down, obviously all machines will go down. So you will have another physical server that would have their partner machines or their passive machines or standby machines, right? So this would be an active machine where all the end users are connecting. This will be the passive or standby machine that is collecting all the changes that are going on in the active machine. It is constantly copying that in the passive machine. So what will happen now? If this machine goes down, the end users can connect to the new, this machine will get activated, right? And all the end users will be connected to that. So you don't lose any time. It just fails over. You're good, right? So you still will have fewer physical servers. So again, if I go back to the trend, data centers used to be big and cost a lot. Now data centers are shrinking, so the cost, the companies saved millions of dollars. Companies saved millions of dollars, creating a data center, small data center, and having everything virtualized, right? So they were really crazily asking, or still asking, hey, P2V, which is physical to virtual in a VMware, fault tolerance, another feature, vMotion, that is live migration. So I'm going to be explaining all those features there as well. But the companies saved millions of dollars, right? So this was still going on, and data center was shrinking. Now the trend today, what is the trend today? The trend today is, so they are all going cloud. I know this is just a thinking picture, but it looks like a cloud, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here, Azure, Microsoft has Azure Cloud. AWS is actually the top vendor. So AWS introduced it, and AWS is still the professional one. Azure is the second best. So Microsoft is the second best in the cloud. Microsoft is the second best in hypervisor market in local data center. So, but Microsoft is best in actually in collaboration service called Office 365. So AWS here, cloud, and Azure Cloud, and GCP, Google Cloud, GCP, right? Google Cloud. So these cloud are the new reality now, and they are really, they've already gone in, they're in the market, and majority of the companies have two or multiple clouds there. One is AWS as a main cloud where their main workload, main critical applications are there, and then there's a second cloud that is Azure Cloud as a backup, right? Or smaller companies would go for main cloud as Azure. It is cheaper than AWS, and second one would be Google Cloud. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about that not only that the already shrunk data centers are shrinking further, all the virtual machines that were in the Hyper-V and VMware ESXi hypervisors, now their demand is not only that you should know that how to control the local data centers with the help of Microsoft's hypervisor, which is Hyper-V, or VMware's hypervisor, which is ESXi. Not only that you should know how they work here, but now can you please migrate these virtual machines from Hyper-V or ESXi hypervisors to either AWS Cloud or Azure Cloud or Google Cloud. So the combination of certification nowadays is the that you should be AWS Cloud certified. It's good to have that. Don't think that it is overwhelming now. I'm just giving you the latest trend. If you get to the latest trend earlier than others, then you're getting a better job. Chances of getting a better job are better as well. So you will get a better job sooner, right? That's what I'm saying. If you don't go for the latest trends, don't check that out. How many new jobs are there for what kind of skill? So then you will be still looking for, it's not gonna give you a very good job. So try to go for latest trend, and that is the VMware virtual machines. We need to understand inside out of a VMware, but it is also now connecting to cloud. If you are an expert, if you are a VCP, VMware certified professional, then they will expect you to be AWS certified, Azure or Azure Cloud certified, or Google Cloud certified, anyone. Or if you are really ambitious, you will go for any two. The best combination is AWS and Azure both. So the thing is that VMware certified professional, yes, it is in demand, but it is always a combination of certifications that are in demand. So it would be VMware certified professional, and if any one of the cloud certification is there, or the skills of those, then you are in demand in the market. So recruiters will really be, yeah. If there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll go ahead. So I hope we understand. Sorry. Oh, that was my sound. Okay. So I hope we understand what's going on. But if there's a question, let me know. So till now, what we're talking about that how data centers were shrinking and physical servers were out. Then the lesser amount of hardware was needed to deploy more amount of virtual machines. That was in the local data center. And then we're talking about that there is the reality called cloud now, which is somebody else's data center, Amazon's or Microsoft's or Google's data center. And you need to actually know that too. Or when you go to the market by that time, you would say, oh, should have had that certification. They're asking about cloud as well. Serious? Okay. Or you could, plan at least that, oh, I'm going to have that Azure certification as well. So more emphasis is on, I would also push or ask students to, also plan Azure certification, because Microsoft companies are adopting fast more Microsoft, while large corporates are going for AWS cloud. So if I go back to, if this point is clear, that how we're coming to this today's state of the market, then the second one that I was talking about was that VMware ESXi. Okay, I need to always keep an eye on my devices. So hypervisor. Then we were talking about, suppose you have a Toronto branch and you have a VMware ESXi, right? So now you have virtual machines here, and you have an idea about, okay, so yeah, not only that I am supposed to know about the virtual machines in our local data center, but if the boss says, hey, can you migrate these test machines for now in our newly acquired cloud, it's not new as well. It's not new. It's becoming a norm now. So you would simply have to know how the virtual machines can be. So high availability of virtual machines locally, high availability, disaster recovery, regular backups. Well, regular backups is the technology. So high availability, disaster recovery, and business continuity, or BC, business continuity. And so the thing is that these are the main some of the main topics that the interviewer will be interested in. Hey, okay, let's talk about high availability. So can you tell me about fault tolerance? Can you tell me about vMotion? Can you tell me about HA, high availability feature in VMware? Oh, okay, that's very good. You know that. So how about can you migrate that VMware to at the cloud destination here, because we have that too. So I'm talking about level 3, level 4 jobs where they would go for, it's 45 or 35 per hour or even more. So AWS, Azure, but if you know it by now, like from now, you start making a plan about, oh yeah, I will go for cloud, and this is related, right? So the local data centers are what we're going to understand. How VMware is fit into a local data center, how it is installed, how it is deployed, how virtual machines are created, how virtual machines are then made highly available as well. That's one thing. But because it is, I can say, directly attached to AWS Azure. So that's where the reality is now. That not only that you need to know VMware. In fact, when I add that and don't see it as overwhelming, I'm just giving you today's market plan, or how the data centers really are right now. There is normally companies, when I was in a bank, or when I go to the contracts in the bank, so normally they have Hyper-V and VMware both. It's not just VMware or Hyper-V, but if you know in-depth VMware, you're good enough with Hyper-V as well, because in 740 course you would have known about Hyper-V. Okay, that's a virtualization platform. We create virtual machines, and but I would just you know suggest you go for the videos where how to do live migration between two Hyper-V hypervisors, and how to go for Hyper-V replica as well. Not theory, practical. Make sure that you have done once live migration and Hyper-V replica there. Now these exact features, what is live migration? Let me just quickly talk about that. And then live migration is that the users are connected here. Suppose there is a file server, and users are connected to this file server. Now this physical server has all of a sudden very less RAM and less processor, because all the machines are sharing this. So you can live migrate this virtual machine from one physical hypervisor server to another physical hypervisor server. So while end users are connected, you live migrate. That's live migration, right? So, or you can turn it off and migrate. Yes, you can do that too. So, and Hyper-V replica is that you have an active machine here, which I already talked about, and you have a passive machine here. If you fail over from, if active is not available, then passive will become active. So you don't lose, there's no downtime, and you don't lose any kind of productivity there. So when I'm talking about that, do perform these steps there, or you can just email me and I'll send you the videos for that step by step, right? So the thing is that, why I'm saying that, because Hyper-V has live migration, and its this exact concept is called vMotion in VMware. Hyper-V has Hyper-V replica, and that exact concept is called fault tolerance in VMware, right? So you have to then, well, my suggestion is go in depth, go technically in depth, and really dig out all the knowledge that it has to offer. Get that experience. So when you're talking about live migration, into the way you talk, interviewer will know right away. Yes, this is the person I need, right? So we're talking about vMotion versus live migration. VMware vMotion is Hyper-V live migration. VMware fault tolerance is Hyper-V replica here, right? So that's how the features are compared in AWS and Azure. How to create a virtual machine there, how to create a storage there, how to create a network there, and how to configure databases there. So this is pretty much going side by side now. Here, VMware and Hyper-V in local data centers in the cloud, AWS and Azure are the two best. If you go for both certifications, just plan it at least, right? Don't overwhelm yourself, plan it. But you should know the latest market trends. If you are having latest skills in a smaller amount of time, a better job can be, you can have a better job as well in smaller amount of time. In less amount of time, you can have a better job, right? High paying job. So that's the purpose here. What I wanted to know, or actually talk about, was that today's market, the data center, VMware has 80% of the data center share. So 80% of data centers have VMware. So yes, pretty much VMware you will see in every company. And So that's why we need to understand all the features, advanced features of VMware as well. I tend to go pretty hands-on with everything. In fact, the whole 4 hours is hands-on, and that's why I requested that your machines should have TeamViewer, and if there are any issues, I could remotely connect at the middle of the class, at the end of the class. And I do teach students as if I'm teaching 5-year-olds. Okay, so that just means that I need to make sure that you understand everything. So understand, and then know how to do labs, and then did you get certified? So if the first one is not there, then forget the other two as well, right? So if you don't understand what you're doing, then it's a full waste of time and money. Do something useful, right? That could be useful, right? So, but if you are understanding exactly the concept, and then then you need to exactly know how to implement that, right? So market needs not only this understanding, it needs how do you implement the labs, how do you implement the technology, right? Actually, the market will say, hey, did you do that in a company or at home? That's where the problem again starts. But if you are confident in interview, some of my students, some of the other students as well, they were very confident there. Sir, I can do that, and going in depth with details of step-by-step configurations. They did the labs 2-3 times. Some were company needed some people, so they hired them. Anyway, so jobs do come, but it's doable. So then, did you get certified? So that's where we always lack. That students do not go for certifications right away. The best thing is go for certifications right at the end of the course. If you did not do it, your resume will not be attracted by the recruiters, and unless you have a rich uncle, you need to go to those certifications. You need to get certified ASAP, like NOW now. So thing is that my suggestion would be to go with the recommendation of certifications. Go for the latest courses. You will get a job better or sooner, better job sooner, and that is you need to go cloud after this. You must, right? I always push everyone in all of the colleges as well. Okay, that's overall about what we need to know about the VMware in the market. Right now, what you will get is I have that. Okay, that was the data center. So I'll be creating accounts for you, and that is the VMware official student login, or where you will get all these software keys, especially the VMware workstation. You get 2 years key, and you can use that. VMware workstation is really crucial to create this environment. We really need that here, and you must do that lab at home. When I'm talking about lab at home, so the recommendation is where am I recording that? Yeah. So recommendation, or I would insist actually. So it is your laptop. Get a laptop or desktop or upgrade it. So at least you should have 24 GB RAM at home. At least plan it. Don't be afraid of that. Oh wow, teacher's saying that. Come on, teach. Anyway, at least plan it, right? So 24 GB RAM, and if you have i7 quad core processor, that is good. i7 quad core. If you have i5, that is also okay. i5 for better i7, but i5 is also okay. And then if you have minimum of 500 GB SSD, right? SSD, it's a weird S. So, but the thing is that if you have 16 GB RAM, yeah, we can pull off that stunt as well. If you have 16 GB RAM, better upgrade it to 24 GB i7 quad core or i5 quad core processors. and 500 GB SSD drive. If you have that, then you're pretty much ready for doing the labs at home as well. Because I'm going to give you all the software for home, and you're going to get that software with the key anyway here as well. That is what we should be doing. So I'm going to be creating this VMware, and I just wanted to introduce this area as well. That first of all, the software is there, 6.7, 6.5, and 6. So the software, and then there is a VMware workstation 15. And I think in your desktops you have 15.5 installed, and then there is e-text here. So there's e-text. First, okay, it kicked me out because it was there for a long time. Okay, look away. Look, bird. Oh, just kidding.
Okay, no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Oh, okay. Whoa, really? Okay, so yeah. And okay, you're still looking somewhere else, I'm sure. Okay. So here's e-text, and there you have all the ebooks. They don't give hard copies there. So you get 6.5 and 6.7 ebooks. Now they're supposed to be free, but they're not. So, but they are very they give a big discount. They give maybe it's otherwise it's $180 or $100, but you have to pay this $35 or I think $28. Sorry, $28 to just buy one book here, and you cannot print it, you cannot save it, you cannot. There's a lot of cannots there, so you just have to read it in the screen. They have put those protections there. So, but the books are there that you can read. So I'm going to be creating those accounts tonight or by tomorrow morning. If not, okay, if there is a if not possibility. Then because white here. Maybe you don't see that. I forget, right? So you can just email me at say that netpluscollege.ca. That's one thing. And second thing, you can just take a picture of that too. 647. Okay, so my WhatsApp. Hey teach. Hey prof. Whatever. So hey, you did not create that account for me. Can you create that account? Oh, hey teach. You don't have the software. Can you give me the software? So you can just contact me anytime, and whenever if possible, I'm just gonna answer. Imagine I'm giving that to 200 students. So right now in different colleges. So but normally I do provide everything, so I don't get a lot of messages. Which is good. But any message for this course is welcome. Any question for this course is welcome. You're stuck at home. Hey, I'm installing this, and this is the error. So just take a picture and put it on WhatsApp, right? So I'll just tell that, okay, yeah, do this. If there's a totally new error that you came up with, so obviously I'll Google it myself and tell you. So you can just take this information. And what I was missing, so what I'm just supposed to provide you is the VMware student login info. And that's one thing. And second thing is there are certain sites that you need to create free accounts in. So first free account to create is www.vmware.com. They also offer trial software, which you don't need. You have actually keys for those software. And then there is mylearn.vmware.com. They seem like the same, but that's a separate free account you need to create. So free account. And keep it your public emails if you have Gmail, Yahoo, etc. But don't go. Suppose you have a college email. Suppose your name at microtrain.com or .ca or .us. So don't go for any college email. So it should be your free email, right? Free account, or here with your public emails, right? And the whatever email with which you're creating this account, stick to that. Do not, if I ask you to give me an email, although I have it, so just give me that email that you use for any other site. Do not use multiple emails on these sites. Now, although it might be overwhelming, that we will be creating, this is inter-college management thing, I guess. But I want you to use Office 365 OneNote, and I will be sharing those videos on Microsoft Stream, which is also part of Office 365. So this I will talk to management, and then I'll let you know how I share the data. We'll be creating Office 365 accounts for students. Why? To share all the slides in SharePoint, to upload the class video on Microsoft Stream. That's another streaming service, although it's going to be an MP4 uploaded video, and to share notes and diagrams on Microsoft OneNote. So if I put anything in OneNote, and you're also logged into OneNote and you're added to my OneNote, so whatever I type here is going to be updated in your site, on your site, within 5 to 10 seconds. So so suppose there's a OneNote here, and I've created these diagrams for another class, a cloud class here, right? So we were doing all these labs. So these are all the diagrams that I have created and shared in OneNote. So at once the students also have all these diagrams and whatever I typed here, right? Other than the slides. So that's why the OneNote is also important to share data effectively and immediately, right? So these are some of the things that we need to do. You can take a picture of this one as well with all the information, and you can just WhatsApp me. And whenever you're WhatsApping, so okay, yeah. So which college? I always ask this question if it's just hello, can you provide me this, and I have no idea who's asking what. So which college, which student, right? So I always ask that. So you can just introduce yourself, and that's it. I'll just add you, and we can I'll share the data with you or the college itself, right? Okay, so we talked about all this, and what this Vmware official, so you should be getting that this weekend. If not, then you can just WhatsApp me or email that, hey teach, where's that? So right, and do follow up as well. I will be replying very soon, shortly. Okay, so if you got this information or you took a picture of that, that's good. And I'm just gonna move away from that, although it's recording as well. Okay, so if you want me to put it back, let me know. So here, these are the e-text books, and then this is the software that you're gonna get access to. That's what I wanted to show. Now, what you won't see is the certifications. This option here, this only the instructor sees, and they're about the certification. Now I need to talk about first of all, the good news is that you will get 70% discount voucher. So a $225 exam will be just $70, and then there's that foundation exam. So there are two exams. One is professional exam. One is foundation. So it's 6.5, 6, 6.7. It's the same thing. Excuse me. So there's a professional exam. There's a foundation exam. Let me just write that down here. Okay, maybe another picture. So yeah, I'll be putting in OneNote, but you don't have access to OneNote right now. So the exams, the VMware exams. So there is excuse me. There's foundation exam. There's a foundation exam. It is unproctored. that mean? So which means that you can give it anywhere. So Microsoft don't care where you're giving that, and it is $120, but after discount it will be just $35 US dollars. Yeah, and so that is one exam, and it is just after discount. I think yeah, $30.35 or 39. And then here is the professional exam. That's what the industry wants. But if you want to get the certificate from VMware that you are a VCP, then you need to give the foundation plus professional exam, right? So this is proctored exam, and you must give it in a test center, and after discount it is nearly $71-72. So okay, that's one thing. Second thing is when do I get the discount voucher, if that's a question. So the discount voucher is given at the end of the course, and without this voucher you will not be able to give the exam. So this voucher will appear in your student official VMware student login, right? So it will appear there as soon as normally Instructor requests the voucher from VMware, and VMware just simply sends the voucher to you, right? So the VMware exams, foundation exam, professional exam, if for the company, some students say, oh, my company is only asking me to give professional exam. Obviously you can just give that exam and give the exam result to the company, but you won't get then the certificate from the VMware. So go for both. Okay, so if there are any questions anytime, you're most welcome to ask. And
to get the VCP certification, we need to do both of those exams. You start with the foundation and then take the professional exam as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And the discount applies when you go for the voucher. Now, for the vouchers, I'll be giving details. So if you want to give the foundation exam, at the time I will also ask you, hey, remember at the first class I gave you mylearn.vmware.com, did you get an account there? And some of the students say, oops, oh, what is that? And I'm like, wow. Okay, so anyway, if you create that account, this account is a must to give foundation exam. So I'll just add here that foundation exam, you need this, right? Because you can give it anywhere, at home, anywhere. So, and oh, sorry, what did I do here? Yikes. Okay, mylearn.vmware.com. So this exam would be mylearn.vmware.com, and so this is site. You need to create an account here so you can give this exam. Okay, so this document would be very useful when you're about to give the exam, but obviously I'm gonna guide you with everything. So discount voucher is given at the, yeah, we're good with that. So finally then we have to talk about the course, all the topics of the course, and then how we will conduct the lab. So in fact when I'm talking or putting all the information here, so the lab, then there's a long discussion about the course topics, and I'm going to be creating some diagrams to give you a brief introduction to what are the topics and what they're talking about and how will we conduct them. So the lab, and for the lab we will create 4 VMs, 4 virtual machines, and normally I create a diagram for that. So I'm going to be putting that in OneNote already, and once your accounts are created there, I'll just share it. In fact, I'm gonna ask you, or if there's a representative of Microtrain here, or maybe you have been doing courses here. So, do you have an Office 365 account there provided by Microtrain?
No.
Okay. So yes, in some colleges it's not there, or if it's there, there is no use of it. Many instructors don't use that as well. So I also, actually push those guys here to have that Office 365 subscription to give you that. This is just for sharing data. You don't have to ask them, hey, Microtrain, give me that Office 365 account. You have to give it. So don't do that. Yeah. Okay. So, but the thing is that it's just very effective to share videos and OneNote, the notes in OneNote that gets updated right away. And when you are doing it at home, repeating all the labs, you can see everything pretty much in the video plus separately in OneNote as well. So I've done that with all public colleges, and so it's very effective. So anyway, so we will be providing that to you, and I'm pushing them to create that account already for your. So whatever email you have given to the management, stick to that email for any new free accounts that you create. If you've given a Yahoo email or a Hotmail email or Gmail, so stick to that. Do not change any of that for any other site, right? Okay. So the lab, I'm going to be now talking about the lab and what is software we're going to use. So I'll just create another diagram for that. So we will have 4 machines here. So you have in front of you in the desktop VMware Workstation. So my first question would be, have you all used VMware Workstation before?
No.
Like Hyper-V though. Hyper-V, okay. That's good. Have you all used Hyper-V before? All?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So this means that you would know exactly. It's the same virtual environment. You create virtual machines inside and it work. So we asked the college to provide desktops that are powerful enough to create 4 virtual machines, because we need as much power as we can have. So the first virtual machine in VMware Workstation will have a Windows operating system. So I was doing this outside here. So Windows operating system, Windows OS, it will have AD, Active Directory, DNS, DHCP. Why? Because we really need infrastructure roles. Now VMware is not dependent on Active Directory at all. If we don't install AD, but we still need DNS and DHCP, but we're installing AD because when you go to any VMware environment in a company, so they will create an account for you in Active Directory, but that Microsoft Active Directory account you will use to log into the VMware as well. So I need to show you how to attach the VMware to Active Directory. If that is not attached, you cannot use a VMware Windows account to log into a Microsoft Windows account to VMware vCenter, right? You cannot do that. So that's why. Otherwise, just for one lab, we're gonna install AD. Otherwise, we don't need AD here, right? So yeah. So that's the first machine. Also, anyone knows what is SAN?
What's what?
SAN. So SAN.
Storage area network.
Yes, sir. Exactly. So storage area network. The basic idea behind that is that you have a storage or disks here. Suppose we have, it's not suppose, we're going to be actually creating those. So you have disks here. These disks can be shared over the network to other machines. These disks can be shared. So over the network, if you want to share a full disk, then that is called LUN, logical unit number. So these are LUNs that we will be attaching to our 2 hypervisors here. So I'm just giving you the roles count. First of all, the first virtual machine will have Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, it will also play the role of a software SAN. Now, fiber optic based SAN is expensive, actually very expensive, maybe 40,000, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000, even $500,000 solutions for SAN are there, where you have loads and loads. There's lots of towers there, and they are full of disks after this. 500 GB disks, 1 terabyte disks. They are just rows and rows and rows and rows of disks, right? So over the network, they are given to different machines. Over the network, they are given to different machines, right? So I'm just trying to show the concepts. Oh, okay. Everything okay? Oh, okay. So yeah, yesterday I was so guys, it's kind of disrupting. So I hope everything is okay there.
I think one of the people who's joined our group should there maybe say.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Or is he working from home?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for noticing that. I was thinking, yeah, those guys are too quiet. So I was just thinking maybe it's from here. So thank you, ma'am, for noticing that. Okay. So I've muted the person. Yeah. What we were talking about, that this will play, the first machine will play the role of SAN as well, which is software SAN. And we're going to be attaching or creating disks here to understand how SAN works, or how we can share local disks over the network to other machines. And why would we want to do that? So these machines have their local disks as well, right? Suppose this is a local physical disk, local physical disk, local physical disk, and there. So why do we need SAN then? So these are LUNs. These would be considered as logical unit number LUNs, or the disks that are shared over the network, right? So if these disks are shared over the network, there are, virtualization cannot survive without SAN. This is one of the basics. They must have it, otherwise don't have it. So don't have this virtualization solution at all if you don't have SAN there. So what we are doing here is, okay, my son just barged in. Normally I take a class from the college. Okay, shoot. Okay, so anyway, sorry. Okay, here what we were talking about was that the shared disks here. What is the two main important benefits of having a shared disk? There are many others. The first thing is, I'm just going to quickly go for that, but we need to understand what is our lab going to be, because on this is an infrastructure not only that we're going to create together, we're going to work on it and implement all the other advanced features as well on this infrastructure. We're going to be building on top of that a lot of other advanced features and testing them, right? So what we are going to do, so what I'm first talking about, if you create a virtual machine, suppose it's a file server. This is a virtual machine and it's a file server. So when we go for a file server here, if you create, file server is just like a virtual machine. It's a machine. So every machine has a virtual disk. You need to put that virtual disk somewhere, right? If you put the virtual machine's virtual disk on a physical server's local physical disk, if you put that virtual machine's virtual disk here, so what is wrong with this picture, or why should you not do that? Anyone can tell me this? Why you should not create a virtual machine? Yep.
If you have a failure,
There you go.
You have no redundancy, so
Bingo.
you lose your machine.
Perfect. So yes, if you have a failure, exactly as you said, this machine is not accessible if this physical server is not accessible. So definitely, as you said, now this is the wrong way to have virtual machines created and configured. So definitely the right way would be that when you're creating a virtual machine, your virtual disk should be on the LUNs here, or the shared disks or logical unit numbers. Now what's the benefit? So I'll just remove that. So if the virtual disk is here now, so first benefit is if the physical server goes down, then this virtual machine could be restarted on the other server. That feature I'm talking about, high availability or HA. This virtual machine can be restarted in another server while it will still have connection to its disk from the other server as well. And why would it have the automatic connection from the other server? Because it is sitting on a shared disk or LUN here that is attached not only to this hypervisor, it is attached to this hypervisor as well. In a large company, you might have thousands of virtual machines, you might have hundreds of hypervisors. We will have just 2 hypervisors. And now I'm building everything on top of that. I should name it as well, obviously. I'm sure you know that, but it is ESXi01, we're going to name it. And it's like these are the hypervisors that we need to create and build on top of that all the advanced features of VMware, right? So if there were more hypervisors, then this one LUN would be attached to this hypervisor. This one same LUN would be attached to this, and so on. Second LUN would be attached to this, and to all others. Then the third LUN would be attached to all others. Why do we want to do that? So if this virtual machine needs to be restarted actually on this server, so the virtual machine still have access to its virtual disk, because this LUN is attached to pretty much every hypervisor, right? So it is attached to every hypervisor. So that's why, so in the interview, if they're asking you why do we need LUN there, so go ahead and discuss this in length with them. The more you discuss, the more you're impressing the interviewer with the correct information, obviously. So, but that one LUN can be attached to 100, suppose, hypervisors, or E6A1 up to E6A100, suppose we had that. And then second LUN would be attached to all, third LUN so that's the first benefit. Okay, we get that. What's the second benefit? It's about live migration or vMotion. What is that? Oops. Wow. Okay, so what we do here is, suppose you're working on a virtual machine and all of a sudden you get tickets created. Okay, I'm connecting to virtual machine and it is terribly slow, it's unacceptably slow, can you do something about it? So you, as a virtualization admin, you go to this hypervisor and you check that, oh yes, because there are so many other machines and they have taken up all the RAM and processing, so it is very, very slow for that machine here. So you decide that, okay, either I stop this machine and migrate, so this will be a downtime. How about I do vMotion? So vMotion is that your machine is up and users are connected and you migrate the machine while they're connected. So you can migrate the machine from here to there, or from here to here. You can migrate. You are able to do that only if your virtual machine, virtual disk is not moving. If this disk is also moving, if it has to migrate as well, then virtual disks normally are 80 GB, 40 GB, 100 GB, right? So it will take all night to migrate that. Since you have a SAN here, you have a LUN here, and the virtual machine's virtual disk is on a LUN that is connected to both or pretty much all hypervisors. So when the virtual machine moves from one place to another, so it does not disconnect with its virtual disk. It moves in milliseconds or few seconds. It moves right away. We're going to do that. We're going to prove that vMotion works, right? So it moves from here to there, and it still has connection or connectivity to this virtual disk on a LUN that is connected to this hypervisor and this hypervisor, right? So that is the vMotion is one big feature that the storage uses, and HA is another feature that storage uses. Then the third feature of hypervisor that is used is fault tolerance. So what is fault tolerance then? Fault tolerance is that your virtual machine is sitting there, and that I have already explained before. Your virtual machine is here, and this is an active machine. This is a file server that is active. Active means end users are connected to this machine, and the other one is passive machine, right? Other one is passive. So the active machines, remember always, I'm going to ask you again in next class, what does active machine do? So active machines receives end user connections. Anyone can tell me what does passive machine do?
Standby.
Yes, that's one thing, standby. What is the other thing that it keeps on doing? Sorry? So it is on standby, you're right. The second thing that it keeps on doing is that it keeps on copying all the changes, and that is called replication. It keeps on replicating every change happening in active machine. Always remember that. And the third thing is, what type of replication is that? There are two types here: synchronous replication and asynchronous replication. And what's the difference? Replication. Yeah. So the difference is that synchronous replication is same time replication. So this is fast. This is can be done only on LAN because it's fast, and no data loss because it is fast, because it will even keep the last second of data change that happened there. It's going to just copy that in the passive machine. Asynchronous, the opposite of that, obviously. There's a delay here in replication. So first the active machine confirms the data, the change has happened locally, and then it tells passive machine, hey passive machine, I'm done, you can copy now. So it copies to the passive machine. So delay here, and then it is done on LAN and WAN. Basically in cloud also you will use that asynchronous replication because of slow change copying going on, and there's a data loss. I'm going to ask that again in next classes as well for repetition, so you could talk confidently in the interview. The eyes on the prize, right? Interview and 35-45 per hour job, eyes on the prize. So for that you really need to give your 200%. This is the time to really give you your full effort, and the rest of the, if you have given full effort, you've gone through some critical strategic courses, then enjoy the rest of your life. Have 35-45 per hour job, right? Or even more. So, but now is the time to really work hard, right? Give it your 200%, and you have then opportunities coming your way. Depends on all. Right now it's hard work. Later you're gonna be smart worker. Right now it's hard work. So anyway, so the fault tolerance is all about the virtual machine. Active virtual machine is in one physical server. Passive virtual machine is another physical server, and the passive is continuously replicating from active whatever changes are going on, and then if this server goes down without any data loss, all the connectivity is shifted to the passive machine because it becomes a active machine. Okay, there's a question from viewer 6 here. I have right now 7 viewers there, or users online. So there is viewer 6 is asking, what about the lab here? So while I've I was explaining this, so there's a question there that will the labs be done on NDG Lab, which is an online lab service for VMware, third partner, and there are some fixed labs there, you have to follow some steps there. So viewer 6, I'm not sure what your name is, but viewer 6, the labs will be step by step from the scratch, and I'll be providing all the software to you. And definitely today we cannot start because even now some students are coming in. First day is like that. Okay, Sadi. So the labs will be step by step, and I'll be providing all the software for those who are doing it from home. Better come to the college if you're in Toronto, and in class is the best class, right? And so yeah, it's not going to be NDG. It's going to be so you know how the lab will be. Let me just give you a. Wow, that's a lot of screens. So there's the VMware workstation here, and if it opens today, okay, yeah. So here you can see I have created a lot of machine here. So I will say, hey everyone, on home button, and then I will click this, create a new virtual machine, and you will click as well. And then I will click this, and you will click that as well. Then I'm going to explain every feature here. I'm going to talk about every feature here, and then I'm going to talk about every feature here, and so on. We need to understand, we need to go in depth, right? This pretty much I do with every course. So we have to go in depth, and we cannot miss anything. We have to understand pretty much every feature. So if it takes more time for the course, I'm not in a hurry, although my check will be delayed, I know that. But we need to go in depth. We need to explore every advanced feature and all options of that feature, right? So it's gonna be step by step. First, you're gonna do the lab with me, hopefully successfully. So then you're going to repeat all the labs at home as well to get more confidence on this technology, right? So that's why I'm asking that please give your 200% now. Be ready to do that. And if you have done very good, enjoy the rest of your life by having a good job, right? But now is the time to really work hard. So keep the questions coming, guys, because you're just welcome to ask any question about and don't hesitate, right? Any basic question, don't think it's basic. Every question is welcome. Okay, for the topic, right? Okay. So sorry for late joining, sir. Did I mess a lot? Okay, then viewer 6 is saying that there will be a video, viewer 6, and I'll be sharing the video with everyone. So you won't be missing anything. But right now we're way ahead in talking about the course, right? So we were talking about vMotion. That is like live migration. There is high availability. That is, if the server goes down, the machine gets restarted on the other physical server. Then there is fault tolerance, and that is you have two copies of a machine. One is active, one is passive. And if the active goes down, the passive becomes active, and it just is updated to exactly that level where the active was when it went down, right? Yeah, we are says I'm about an hour late. Yeah, so but you will all get the video, so you can revise the video and know the introduction and the exam questions and everything. So guys, these are some of the features that we need to know. And whenever you need a break, let me know. So we will have a brief break, and then we're going to talk about all the topics of the course. Now, here, I was talking about our 4 machines, right? So which you will be creating, and okay. Am I doing that? Yeah. Oh, okay. I can do it with So yeah, first machine will be server 01, and second machine will be server 02, which will actually. So guys, I was thinking, I am given that independence to choose between 6.5 and 6.7, although there is not much difference. So there is this way that we can go straight to 6.7, and there's another way. Go 6.5, explore all the features, upgrade to 6.7. That is always, so you get to know the upgrade as well, while you will be preparing for 6.7 exam later. You will learn not only 6.5 but 6.7 as well, because then you will know, oh, that's a difference, that's a difference, that's a difference, that's it, there's no other difference. Okay, so but you get to know 2 instead of 1. Normally go for 6.0 to 6.5, so we go through in depth with 6.0 version of that, then we upgrade to 6.5, then we explore all the comparisons, because if there's no significant difference, so you just need to know whatever are the difference there, right? So exam, in terms of exam, it will be 6.7, but if you explore 6.5 to and then upgrade to 6.7, so you get to know what is in the industry, because they have a mixture of 6.0, 6.5, 6.7, but if you get to know 2, that is better than just knowing 1. So I would try get a feedback from everyone. If you're not very particular about, no, I want to go for 6.7 because my boss said so, I'm having that promotion and 6.7. So yes, you will be giving the exam. So you will be giving the exam. Yeah. Sorry, there was a question, or was I just listening to my echo here? Okay, it was an echo. Sometimes my echo comes, I thought somebody asked question. So, and it's not regular echo, it's sometimes. Alright guys, so we're talking about server 1 to be this, and server 2 to be actually the vCenter server. Now, in Hyper-V, you have a, let me just give a brief about Hyper-V, that you have 2 hypervisors here, suppose, right? Or 200 hypervisors. It's a big organization, suppose. So if you have 1 or 2 hypervisors, you can remotely connect to them and create a virtual machine, create storage and everything. But if you have 200 hypervisors, you need a central software for controlling all of them. So central software in Hyper-V is called SCVMM. The central software, the central enterprise grade application in Vmware is called exactly as you said, vCenter. So it's again rivalry between SCVMM and vCenter. So this is the vCenter that we're going to install here. And there's another question online here. Sir, in this course, is there any real on-job working scenarios? Because we don't just want certification, but real work scenarios. So after this course, we can manage on-job scenarios. Thanks. That's Viewer 6. And Viewer 6, so we're going to be doing all hands-on labs there. If you don't understand the basic features, how do we implement? We cannot use them in the scenarios. So if you know how to implement vMotion, high availability and fault tolerance, if you can implement them successfully, and that's not an easy task as well. I'm going to go step by step, and hopefully you're as technical, I'm sure you are. So the thing is that we're going to go in depth with all the topics. We need to understand them in depth, right? So after that, I can tell you, yes, this vMotion can be used for this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, this scenario. HA can be used for multiple scenarios. Fault tolerance can be used for in production environment, multiple scenarios. But first we need to understand how to implement it successfully, right? We have to prove that it was successfully implemented, not just implemented. We're going to test it, we're going to prove it, right? So yes, if we go in depth with that, then I'm going to tell you production environment scenarios, because that is definitely, you're right, it's critical to understand that. So so we're going to have vCenter, and that vCenter is a centralized application that handles pretty much the whole virtual environment. So the second server will be vCenter, And again, there are some students who are just joined, so hardware required if you are still going to come from online. So its RAM is minimum 24 GB, right? Or do a stunt with 16 GB. I think it's doable, but it's going to be terribly slow. So processor, it's i7 quad core or i5, but not i3. Better go for i7 or i5. And then processor, and then the SSD or the hard disk is 500 GB SSD, not 5,000, 500 GB SSD. Okay, so that's the hardware that is required for this lab. Lesser than that would have slower machines, doable, and lesser than that would be no lab at all. So okay guys, second server will have vCenter, and that is going the whole VCP course revolves around the vCenter, how vCenter works. If I'm talking about the advanced features like vMotion, HA, fault tolerance, it is because we're going to install vCenter. Without that, you don't have these advanced features, you cannot actually pass. So VCP-DCV is all about vCenter features, right? So this is a center feature or application that will handle what? What will it handle? It will handle all storage, networking, virtual machines, right? And storage, networking, VMs, which is normally called compute here. So if I just go compute, so it is definitely all categorized among these three major categories. And then inside standard switch and distributed switch and networking, storages, data stores, and RDM. There are many features then: compute, virtual machine, virtual CPU, virtual RAM. So this second machine will be vCenter. It takes, in a good machine, it takes 45 minutes to install. It's a big application. And then the two hypervisors. We're gonna have two hypervisors here. So this is the VMware ESXi hypervisor. And why do we need two? Because we need to check and test the redundancy features, high availability features, fault tolerance. So redundancy and high availability features, we need to check that. If we don't test that, then it's no benefit of the course even. So anyway, the thing is that we must have two hypervisors here to check the advanced features. These are not only these advanced features, there are many other advanced features as well. So but this is our lab. We will have 4 machines: server 1, server 2, and ESXi1, ESXi2. The other names are ESXi1. So it's kind of messy here now, but I hope we are understanding what's going on. So if we understand, that's the benefit of coming here and giving money. If you don't understand, then think again. So okay, so server 1, server 2, server ESXi1, ESXi2, that's how we're gonna create the 4 virtual machines. And when you create something, suppose on next class we're gonna starting that. So day 1, whatever you do, or day 2, whatever you do, on top of that we're gonna build more, and then on top of that we're gonna build more, and on top and on top and top. So those virtual machines need to be safeguarded. If you have external drives, better copy those machines there. And you need to create a replica environment at home as well. You must create that replica environment at home to test whatever we did in the daytime. It will be recorded in the video. All steps are recorded, all lecture, all drawings are recorded. So you can just follow the video and redo the lab at home. You must, right? It's for your own good, right? You will benefit from that if you really work hard now. Again and again, I'm saying that you will benefit from it. Okay. So any questions on this whole lab here? Well, so now I think it's okay. What about DRS? So viewer 8 is saying what about DRS? So yeah, after the break we're gonna talk about all the features of VMware, including obviously DRS and standard switch and distributed switch, and again vMotion HA fault tolerance, but whatever is not covered there, replication features, and then viewer 8 was saying DRS, and then viewer 6 is saying length of this course. So length of this course is normally 4 hours on Saturday. For it should complete 40 hours, so it could be 10 Saturdays. But the way we do it, the way I go, it's going to take maybe 11, 12, 13 Saturdays. So whenever we are all able to finish the lab, because sometimes lab implementation is fast, the students are fast as well, and sometimes there are slowdowns. Oh, my machine is not there. Oh, my machine is so if there's a long troubleshooting, normally then you have to sit back, enjoy the show, and redo that by following the lab. Otherwise, if it's a small troubleshooting, then I can just troubleshoot or tell you as well, and we can wait for it. So you have to do the lab with me, and then you redo the lab at home. And also, yeah, it's 40 hours, but it goes normally more than that. So yeah, there's another question from viewer 6. Will we be able to do VMware admin job after this course if we have little background in server admin? Depends on your hard work, depends on how good you understood. There are chances, but normally I'm realistic. Just stick to ground realities there. There's no job waiting for us outside if we haven't worked hard and if we did not understood anything. So if you have less experience, you need to go for some combination of courses. And I talked about those combination of courses at the start of the class, that if you have some cloud courses, AWS, Azure, VMware course, and MCSA and Office 365. If there's a combination, you get a good job sooner. Otherwise, there's always a little delay. So it never think that one course will get you a job, very good job, or a job, right? It's always a combination of courses that gets you a job, right? So combination of skills will get you a job. So right after this, if you really worked hard and you got lucky, even when you do 5 or 10 courses, after that some people are searching for a job, and others, they get it right away. Even during the course they get it. So depends on how did you do in the interview. There are many factors there. I have interview questions as well for pretty much all these courses I teach. Whenever you're going for the job, let me know and I'll send you the interview questions, and I can check your resume at least if it's good enough. So but that's all I can do. MCSE is okay. VMware plus AWS cloud certification, Azure cloud certification, and Office 365. So yeah, when you're talking about combination of skills, I did mention that before as well, but I think you joined late. So MCSA minimum, VCP, AWS cloud solutions architect, Azure cloud administrator, and Office 365, not Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the administrator, Office 365 administrator, which is Exchange Online, the emails, and then all the other certification, SharePoint and Teams, conferencing and video conferencing, right? So these are the combination that would get you job sooner. Right, guys, so let's take a break, 15 minutes or okay, so 15 minutes, 1-5, right? So 4:54. Well, okay, in Chicago I think it's 3:54. So 15 minutes from now we start the class again. We need to talk about all the features. So 15 minutes from now, let's start the class again. Okay, muting now. Alright guys, so
for the workstation.
Yeah.
Click the link
Okay.
inside there for the $250. If you go on Amazon.com, you can get them. I found some for $79, lifetime license.
Okay.
My first server, you can get them for $8 a license key.
Okay.
I mean, for all the stuff.
They're out there,
Yeah.
essentially.
Very inexpensive for a key. Well, 79 isn't very expensive, but it's less than 250.
okay, so there is that. Oh, I resumed that recording. I hope I paused it. So, guys, if there are any questions, let me know openly. Anything. Yeah. So, viewer 6 has a question online, and that is for VCP voucher, do we have also to have VMware optimization course? No, viewer 6. You can have voucher at the end of this course. And how much time this voucher is valid? Oh yeah, this voucher is valid for 1 year, and somehow some students, actually there are 3 students who broke the record. They forgot to use the voucher in 1 year. So now VMware tells them, hey, come back here and pay again for the course, and then we'll give you the next vouchers. So yeah, the VMware vouchers are 1 year, and yes, after that it's not very easy to. Okay, so guys, yeah, any questions, let me know, and what we can do. So okay, let's just go ahead and try to explore all the topics, and also that this I try to push more, otherwise I could make this course easy as well. The more hard work we do here, the more reward we will get. The lesser hard work we have to do to get a job and to actually implement those technologies there. Or we can do less hard work here, and then yeah, it's the opposite of that in the production environment where it really counts. So okay. So we talked about the lab. Any question, anytime is welcome, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and try to talk about some topics of the course. Now, what I was planning today was to at least get our basic lab up and running, but there are students still joining, and day one normally is that if it is online, it's not that easy to have everyone on one page. So that's why I really try to have everyone on one page, so on the same page, so we could always have no question or doubt about anything. So I've explained the lab here, and the software will be coming your way. The accounts that I need to create will be done, and I've put that screenshot or the information here. Hopefully you have that information as well. You can just take a picture. Maybe you've taken that already, or you have remembered it. So let's go ahead and try to know some of the topics there that are in the course. So what is this course is really about, and so I'll just so normally I go for these slides as well and just read it out, and that's it. So it's your choice either to be lazy and simply attend the class, not with the instructor, pretending you understand everything. Obviously this is not for any of those students here, but the thing is that it's our choice. But here, that's what I really want to talk about. Are you the active and hardworking type? Try to understand what the instructor is saying. Let me know if I'm going fast. So you can slow me down, or you can ask me to repeat anything. Ask me to repeat what you don't understand. Not shy of asking simple and easy questions. So every question is welcome here. And work on your home lab and SMS me, email me with screenshots, or call me if you're stuck. I wish that was true, just ignore that. So it's minute, not hour. Just minute, right? So, okay. So that works on hands-on lab. So if you are stuck with something, just put that picture on the WhatsApp, and any. So you must implement that at home, and this is for home. So works on hands-on labs, minimum 2 hours daily. Well, that's just whatever you can give, you can go ahead and give that much time, but you must implement all that what we implemented on that day before the next class, right? At home as well. So this is what I was talking about. i7 quad core, 32 GB or 64 GB RAM, 64 series. Okay, so and minimum 500 GB SSD. So this is now here. There's a site called Kijiji here in Canada. Okay, maybe it's in there as well, US. So, but try to get that. Refurbished laptops are good. Refurbished desktops are cheap. But plan it. It's not compulsory. It's for your own good if you go ahead and arrange all that and give it your 200% after that. So key to success is dedication, and I'm sure we're all dedicated here. So I've just gone through all this, so I'm just going to so 70% discount, we talked about that, and now the course material is, or the topics that we're going to discuss, we're going to talk about that as well. So Vsphere 6.7 Foundations exam. So I'm just going to go to the VMware site itself and try to grab it and put it here. So now VMware, first of all, there's one good news that VMware gave last year, and that was that the certification will not expire. So you give that certification, and it will be you can give it whenever the industry really needs the next version of the certification. Otherwise, you can stick to this. So obviously, if all the technology of today has changed in the next 10 years, so you have to give that certification again to really be legit in the market. So that's one thing. You don't need to upgrade every 2 years or 3 years. Second thing is that if you do that exam or certification in 2020, so it doesn't say 6.7 VMware, or it doesn't say 6.5 VMware. It just says VCP 2020, which is whatever technology is introduced in that year. This means that you know that. If you've done VCP in 2020, so whatever technology in 2020 was introduced, you're expected to know that. And so what happens? Well, your certificate will show this. Your certified VMware certified professional data center virtualization. If you give it in 2021, so it will be that. So it's by year they're going to give. Suppose it's 6.7. You did right now. You can only give 6.7, right? But yeah, it will just put the date or the year name in your certification. Only, yeah, VMware is doing that. No other certification is doing that. So what about the course content there? I'm on the site here as well, and gain experience with Vsphere 6.7, attend one of the required training courses, pass one of the foundation exams, and they are still saying actually still now, because this exam retired on 29th. Yeah, so it's mentioned here, but so 6.0, 6.5 is retired already last year, and this is 6.7 foundation, 105 minutes, 65 questions, and $125, which is after 70% discount. You can give 35 or whatever the conversion is. So and then pass one of the professional. So that's what I just mentioned there, that you have to pass foundation exam, and then this is professional. 115 minutes will be given to you. 70 questions will be in professional exam. It is $250, and after 70% discount, you can just put that. So if you have previous certifications, then there are some questionnaire here, but otherwise, yeah, we will just go ahead with the exam topics. So let's talk about the exam topics here. What we need to, okay, in OneNote, this is a cloud one. Okay, so we talked about these details already. Passing score is 300, so you have to take above 300. Exam code is, well, when you are about to give the exam, you have to go to the testing center and you have to give this code 2V0-21 dot, now it's going to be 20 instead of 19, but 2V0-21 is the code for VCP-DCV 6.7, right? But when you're about to give that, obviously I'll just give that information again to you, and you can ask me any questions at that time as well. It's just multiple choice, and yeah, it's not known to be very tough. But yeah, after understanding everything, well, majority of the students have been, pretty much all students have passed. I haven't heard anyone, hey, I failed. No one said that, or at least didn't tell me. So whenever they passed, then they told me. I'm sure they passed the first time. So that is the information about the exam. Let's go ahead and exam overview. So the professional 6.7 exam 2020 as well. Just the last course happened here 2019, so the slide is showing that. Validates that an individual can implement, manage, and troubleshoot a Vsphere 6.7 infrastructure. 6.7 infrastructure, using best practices to provide a powerful, flexible, and so that's their, what you can do. So implement, manage, and troubleshoot. So we will be implementing step by step from scratch, and then we will see a lot of troubleshooting steps even there. When you're re-implementing that at home, the same thing by following the video. So some more troubleshooting might come, and you need to resolve that too. So market really needs troubleshooters there, because they already have those environments working, and whenever there's an issue going on, obviously then they would need you to troubleshoot and to resolve those problems as soon as possible. So you will only be able to troubleshoot if you know that technology inside out, right? And when you have implemented several times, and you have troubleshooted your way, so your concepts are strong, you will be able to troubleshoot newer issues as well. Okay, so that's now it is also talking about using best practices to provide a powerful, flexible, and secure foundation for business agility that can accelerate the transformation to cloud computing. So what I was saying was that cloud computing is a reality now, and you must get that certification whenever you plan to do that. But in the VMware exam, they're saying that transformation, so accelerate the transformation to cloud computing. So anyway, I'm gonna by the end of the course, I will tell you, because AWS, Amazon Web Services, that is the top in the cloud certification, has collaboration with VMware now. VMware has also collaborated with, is in collaboration with Microsoft Azure Cloud as well. What does that mean? That means that now we can easily migrate our virtual machines from VMware data center, suppose in Chicago, to Microsoft Azure Cloud, which is Microsoft's data center, or Microsoft or AWS Cloud, which is Amazon's data centers. So they are in collaboration with. At the end of the course, we should be talking about that too. And exam sections. So VMware exam blueprint sections are now standardized to the 7 sections below. So we're going to talk about architecture and technologies, products and solutions, planning and designing, installing, configuring, and setup. Now we're going to actually start from section 4 while we talk about the architecture and technologies, products and solutions, planning and designing. As I said, my course is all hands-on. So you get the best of confidence on, oh, that's what VMware is all about. So section 5, performance tuning, optimization, and upgrades. So we're going to talk about upgrades. So that's what I was saying, that if you go from 6.5 to 6.7, you would learn more, right? So okay, there's a question on join.me here. Viewer 6, so discount on both exam, foundation, and VCP. Yes, there's a 70% discount, 70% discount on both exams. Viewer 6. Okay, we're coming back to performance tuning, optimization, and upgrades, troubleshooting, and repairing. So that's where I'm trying to go for Vsphere 6.5, and from there prepare you for 6.7, and you should know clearly the differences between the two. But it's depends on the feedback as well. Somebody says no, 6.7 sharp, okay, I'll go for that. Otherwise, better learn the market strategies, how to upgrade from an older one, and that there's no significant change between, but whatever changes are there, definitely then you will know it as soon as you upgrade to 6.7, right? Okay, so these are the sections, and anytime any questions, welcome. And objectives. So yeah,
Can we go back to the slide?
sure.
Is there a section that's missing? It says 7 sections. Has it just been whittled down to 6 sections now?
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Vmware exam blueprint. Oh, yeah, it says 7 sections actually. And I actually copied that from one page, and that one page didn't have. So yeah, I will be checking that from the exam sections. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, okay, I'll be checking that, and it says 7, and then it shows 6. That's not good. So learning. Nope, these are just questions here. Exam prep on the Vmware Learning Zone and scheduled exam. Okay, I'll just go inside there. And exam overview. There you go. Okay, and yeah, download exam PDF. So that's what I'm gonna grab now. Free Vmware 6.7. Oh, hey, that was not there before on the website. Free Vmware Vsphere 6.7 ebook. Are you kidding me? Execute a successful upgrade to. Oh, okay, see, that's an upgrade book. So that's not exactly 6.7, but equally important. So I'll just put that link here for when I'm sending that on OneNote, and free book, but it's about upgrade, right? So that they just recently added because last time I didn't see that here. So I'll just go for that download exam guide here. Oops. Okay, so yeah, and it still says 7, and there's the 7th. Okay, so administrative and operational tasks. Hey, yeah. So thank you, ma'am, for pointing that out. And
No problem.
okay, so administrative and operational tasks here. That's the again, the main thing is that we're going to be implementing from scratch. So all this we're going to be covering pretty much everything here. Architecture and technologies. We have to talk when we are installing hypervisor. So the architecture of hypervisor. Then when we're installing vCenter, then the architecture and technologies of vCenter. And products and solutions, and planning and designing. So when we are deploying, I'm gonna ask or discuss about how to plan that in a production environment, and then we're gonna deploy in our environment, which is very small. So then there are objectives here, right? So I did put them in my slide as well, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about those objectives, especially some of the concepts that we need to really understand there. So for the major technologies, we're going to talk about the concepts that this is what we're going to do labs for as well. Install and configure ESXi hosts. So we're going to install ESXi hosts as per the diagram in two. Now my diagrams are really messy. Hopefully when I was creating that and you understood, so when you see it again, it's not that confusing. So but we're going to install 2 hypervisors here, and we're going to understand the architecture of hypervisors. So pretty much what we need to understand again would be that there is that compute in a hypervisor. It is supporting 3 major features: compute, storage, and networking, right? So for the hypervisor, how does these 3 major components really work? And this hypervisor could be considered as a foot soldier in virtualization environment, because vCenter is going to handle all these hypervisors, and inside those hypervisors will be virtual machines. So pretty much we need to know the inside out architecture of an hypervisor, right? So compute, storage, and networking is related to pretty much every hypervisor. So we're going to work on one hypervisor and they go through pretty much all the features, and then we will know, okay, this is how one hypervisor works. So this means 1000 hypervisor will work the same way as well. And so that's our first thing we're going to do, implement, install hypervisor. Hopefully next week we're going to install the first 2 machines, and we're going to actually create a template machine and then install the 2 machines there, a Windows machine. Then we're going to install hypervisor as well. Depends on what is the speed of if you say yes, I'm there, then yeah, I can go ahead, but you will see the format. It's going to be all recorded, so you're not going to miss anything. You can just repeat at home as well. So deploy and configure VMware vCenter Server appliance, and deploy and configure. Well, there should be vCenter Server appliance and Windows-based vCenter, which is in 6.5. So what are we talking about here when we're talking about deploy and configure VMware vCenter Server appliance? So if I go back to our diagrams here, in fact, there's another diagram. So we will have our 4 machines here, but the 2 of them are Windows and 2 of them are hypervisors, ESXi 01 and 02. So what is an appliance? So there are 2 types of vCenter. So vCenter being the central enterprise grade application that controls the whole environment of VMware virtualization. It actually controls more than that, but anyway. So the vCenter, it comes in 2 forms. One is Windows based vCenter, and the other is well, it used to be till 6.5, actually till 6.0. So let me just put that all in writing here. vCenter appliance. First of all, what this means? Appliance means that an application installed in a VM, in a virtual environment. That's what appliance means. An application installed in a VM. We can simply customize according to company needs. Customize it according to company requirements, right? Company requirements. So that is appliance. So if I try to put that here in diagram, so what we are planning to do with 6.5 here is that, okay, there's a AD, DNS, and infrastructure roles will be there, right? DNS and DHCP. Okay. So AD, DNS, DHCP, and then there is, if we are talking about, let me just give it a little brief background. vCenter 5.0, that's way back when we used to be little. No, just kidding. So 5.0, 5.1, so last 2 decades we're talking about, and then 5.5. This is like recent, not recent. We can say 5 years back or more. And then comes 6.0. So we're talking about vCenter 6.0, and then came 6.5, and then 6.7, right? Now, why I wrote that, and I was talking about appliance, and so they both were Windows/Linux based, right? Appliance would be Linux based vCenter, and then the other one would be Windows based vCenter. So VMware had and still has a good friendship with Microsoft. Hopefully it still has, but now it's more Linux based than Microsoft based. So why am I saying that? So I'm just gonna move that to until 6.0, until we can say 6.5, sorry. It was Windows based and Linux based, right? It was Windows based and Linux based. 6.7 says, hey Windows, go out, move, I don't need you. So it says Now it's going to be Linux based, which is not exactly Linux. It is its own operating system called Photon, which is, you know, a mixture of Linux. So 6.7 vCenter is Photon based, which is a mixture of Linux and their own coding, the VMware's own coding. It's still, you know, half Linux, half their own coding. Or so what we're talking about here is that Windows was if I just put some more perspective to that, so more features in Windows in 5.0 and less in Linux. That's how it was. More feature in Windows, less in Linux. It used to be like that. So that is until, if I go until 5.5, this was the case. More features in Windows, less in Linux. Okay. Then Linux community was always angry at VMware. Then VMware says, okay, don't worry, because we are so dependent on Windows, and Windows releases updates pretty much every second Tuesday of every month. And if you install a vCenter on Windows and it's updating so much, we have to restart so much the Windows. So our vCenter has to be restarted as well, because Windows have so many updates, right? So why don't we just move it away from Windows and put it on Linux, which is more stable and less updates, less restarts, right? And you have to hire a Windows expert, MCSA, for that. So Linux, so VMware is saying that, okay, so from 6.0, equal features in both Windows and Linux. So VMware says, okay, now our vCenter will install on Linux and Windows both, but now we are supporting all the features same in Windows-based vCenter and same in Linux-based vCenter. But in 6.5, it started changing, so less features in Windows and more in Linux. And now 6.7, Linux based and Windows respectfully kicked out. I don't know where's the respect here, but okay. So Windows respectfully kicked out. So that just means that 6.7, now the Windows community or the administrators who are handling Windows and VMware, so they have to learn, well, you just still have to learn VMware. You don't have to learn Linux to run VMware, because pretty much VMware graphical interface is all click, 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 and it's really straightforward. When you go to commands, if you have some Linux background, that's okay, but otherwise purely it's VMware commands, which has some, you know, mixture of Linux. If you had Linux background, it's okay. Otherwise, don't worry, you don't have to learn Linux to learn VMware. So 5.0, 5.5, 5.5 more features in Windows, less, and then 6.0 equal features in both Windows and Linux. 6.5 less features in Windows, more in Linux, and then comes 6.7. So if we go for 6.5 deployment, then we will learn the Windows based and the Linux based both. So suppose you go for a job and they say, hey, we still have 6.0, so do you know how to work on Linux based, or do you know how to work on Windows based vCenter? Inside the vCenter, it's the same. It's the deployment method that is different. So let me show you about that. Here, second machine, it's Windows. On top of that, you install like MS Office you installed before. So you can install vCenter on top of that. But then your boss says, no, I want appliance. I want vCenter appliance. So you say, hey, don't worry, I know that too. So what you do is, you attach the DVD, our ISO of appliance, the vCenter appliance here. You deploy the appliance. It's the same vCenter, and you deploy it from over the network to ESXi hypervisor as a virtual machine. So now this virtual machine is that appliance which has vCenter inside. What's the benefit of that? Benefit is you don't need Windows. You don't need Windows license. You don't need Windows Expert. You don't need all that. And the vCenter controls the hypervisor which it is in. It controls the other hypervisor. It controls all the virtual machines in all the hypervisors, their networking, their storage. It pretty much controls everything while sitting in one of the hypervisors itself. So that is called appliance-based vCenter. vCenter, normally it's called VCSA or vCenter Server Appliance. vCenter Server Appliance. So it is a vCenter Server Appliance. So it is a virtual machine that is inside where vCenter is. So vCenter controls the hypervisor, the very hypervisor it is inside, and the whole environment as well. So you need to make sure that this hypervisor better be working fine, right? If you want to control the whole environment centrally. So we're going to learn about how to deploy vCenter appliance. We're going to learn about what's the difference then? You install a Windows-based vCenter and then you install a appliance-based vCenter. So what's the difference? Inside, not much. So it's just that how do you want to maintain that vCenter on a Windows environment or on a VMware environment? That's the difference. So that's the second objective we're gonna try to meet. Okay, so I was so involved in this. So there is because an interview. Oh whoa! So viewer 6 has a question here. In this course we have we can also have some capacity planning experience in VMware, because in interview usually they ask did you ever involved in capacity planning? So yes, viewer 6, capacity planning just means that suppose you have 10,000 users, suppose you have 100,000 users. So how many hypervisors you need, how many virtual machines you need, what kind of hardware you need for that, what kind of applications you have already. So capacity of that. Suppose you have SQL servers, suppose it's a hospital, suppose it's a educational institute. So how do you really plan and to deploy the whole environment? So depends on what application and depends on how many users are there. Then you start doing the capacity planning. So definitely we're going to talk about capacity planning here. When we're deploying, we have to talk about that. And then there's another question from viewer 6. I have a question, if you don't mind. What is difference between you and Udemy course instructor? Hey, that's not fair. Okay. Udemy, everyone knows that? Udemy? Okay. So we can buy online course just in $30. We want from you is your experience and real on-job scenarios and problem you face during your job environment as you are working in VMware environment. So please, we expect something different from YouTube, Udemy, etc. Thanks. If I am taking this course, this what I expect from you. Thanks. More practical knowledge than theory. Okay, so yeah, I would suggest that you do buy the Udemy course. It's in $10, $9. But that would be extra knowledge. And here my concept of ID course, if you had joined earlier, you would have known that. So that my concept is that we need to go hands-on, right? So all 4 hours will be total hands-on with theory that is necessary, but all 4 hours will be total hands-on. So it just means that every class we're gonna build, understand and build, right? So so we could be very confident on this technology, not just going through theory matter there. So today I was gonna start the lab, but we need to be on the same page everywhere. So that's why I'm just putting it like that. Now, okay guys, so great, yeah. So the thing is that we're gonna implement everything and you will see less theory and more lab actually here. And I would expect that everyone is paying attention, so we could go with next steps of labs. So so that's a yeah. Welcome. Okay, so here we're talking about server appliance, but yeah, if we don't know the theory, if we don't know the background, obviously we cannot. Doing the labs would be useless. Suppose we did a 4-hour lab, click, 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 and after 4 hours, yes, it works, woohoo, yay! But then I ask you, okay, what did we just do in 4 hours? And you say, and that's it. So I would just say, okay, thank you for giving your money. We really needed that, but you simply wasted your time here. So that's where I'm going to make sure that you understand. I'm going to cross-question you. This is for your own good. I could just give a lecture, blah, 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 and take your exam and take your voucher and you're good. So no, you're not good.
Your audio is breaking up.
Oh,
can you hear us?
Yes. Hello. Okay. So, are you able to hear me?
It's very garbled.
Okay. I'm not sure which side is having internet issues here. Well, from my side, I'm connected to. Oh, reconnected. Your screen is being shared. Are we okay now?
That sounds okay.
Oh, great. Okay, so yeah, there was a reconnection here, and I don't know which side was reconnected, my side or your side. I'm not sure about that. So what we were talking about was that the labs will be really continuous and extensive to understand the whole technology. Okay, so okay, so no problem. Sorry. So vCenter appliance, we understand that the thing is we need to really understand what's going on here. So vCenter appliance, we understand that it's a virtual machine with a software installed already inside, but you need to customize it for the company, right? You need to customize it for the company. So all these diagrams I'm going to be putting in OneNote, which will be available to you. Yeah, there was a question from one of the students that, hey, can I use my own OneNote instead of? So yes, that is also okay. I'll try to connect your OneNote to mine. I hope it works. I haven't done that before, so it may not automatically share, but I'll just put it there, and you can put it on your OneNote. So that's, yes, this is possible, and I'll try to do that for you. So, all right, guys, we're talking about appliance. Then we're going for Vsphere web client. So this web client and Vsphere client. So what are those? Now, when we install hypervisor, we need to connect to it, right? So one way to connect is that we can install a software called Vsphere client. This is just like if you install MS Office. So if you install MS Office, so this software just installs like that on Windows, or if you want to go for Linux version. So from this software you can connect to vCenter. From this software you can connect to hypervisor, right? So from the software you can connect to vCenter and hypervisor. Oh, thank you. So here, and then there is a web client here, right? So we have a Vsphere web client. This just means that if you don't want to use a software, so web client, as the name says, is a browser-based client. So browser-based client. What does that mean? So suppose you're a VMware administrator, you have 5 floors to go to, and you're actually on the move, as well as you're centrally handling everything as well. So if
your audio is still breaking up.
Oh, sorry.
Breaking up again.
So do you have a local tech support there as well, or oops, maybe even that is not.
It was here. I'll go see if I can track it down.
Yeah.
Don't go outside the door.
We need to.
I got left out.
Okay. So, guys, one more thing here. So can you WhatsApp me, and so I will check your comments there as well. can you say hello on WhatsApp? Just your name, college, course. So I would, for quick communication. And yeah, the number is up there. So I would know right away, or you would just WhatsApp me, okay, your audio is not good, or I can hear now, which is good. Suppose I am not able to hear, so you can just your name, college, course. Okay, so what we need to do is let me know when the sound is okay. Still disrupting?
It's not as broken up right now.
Oh, okay. Well, next week I'll be in the college. From there, I'll be giving the class. Hopefully, their connection is also strong, and I'm sure the microtrain internet connection should be okay. But the disruptions are not really good.
I would suspect that. But I think we're the only four here.
Oh.
It's still breaking up.
Seems to be a little bit better.
Okay. So is it better? I guess.
Yeah, it's better right now.
We're the only ones here.
Okay. Oh, you're the only ones in the college. Okay. Yeah, it's Saturday evening. What a sacrifice. So, okay, guys. So, yeah, as I was saying, hopefully, so I also put that message here. If for quick communication, you can also put it on WhatsApp. Hey, teach. Well, this is not audio is not good, but yes, your audio, when you're saying that, I can hear that too. So that's also good. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go back to here now. We were talking about the web client. Oops, sorry. We were talking about the web client here, and it is VMware Vsphere web client. So the only thing to understand with the web client is that web client is a browser-based client, and throughout the course we will be using this one more than the software client, though we will be installing the software client and we will try to connect from there. So basically what client does, it simply helps us connect to hypervisor or vCenter. So that's the only purpose of having the vSphere client or browser-based client. But browser-based client, VMware is more pushing us towards the browser-based client. Why? Suppose there are 10 floors in a building, and there is, you're a VMware administrator, and you are going from one floor to another floor, and you are trying to troubleshoot as well. But all of a sudden, on the third floor, you need to connect to the vCenter. So if suppose you didn't have your laptop or tablet, mostly laptop, so you can connect to any network connected machine, and then you can connect to the browser from any network connected machine and just simply connect to the vCenter, and from there handle the whole environment. But if you are dependent on the software, so whenever it is installed, you can only connect from that machine to your vCenter or hypervisor. So browser-based client is just web-based, so if you have web browser, that's all you need. Vsphere client, you need to install the software and then connect to vCenter environment, so you can handle centrally everything about virtualization. So the clients only help you connect to vCenter and hypervisors. That's what they do, right? So we're going to install that and configure that, but web-based client we're going to be mostly using anyway. So then we talk about vCenter inventory and the vCenter server configuration. This is when we install the vCenter itself. So you will see that vCenter inventory just means that obviously how many virtual machines are there, how many what is the network configuration of the virtual machine, how many applications are deployed, how many hypervisors are there. So it's all inventory, the word says it all anyway. So, and the configuration of the servers you need to, so we're going to check, we're going to be configuring the whole vCenter server anyway, so definitely you will then understand how to configure the server. Create virtual networks with vSphere standard switches. So vSphere standard switches, we're going to spend 4 hours just to understand vSphere standard switch, and we're going to do the lab on that, right? So we're going to do the lab on that. So vSphere, now I'm just going to go back there. Suppose you install a hypervisor. So you the hypervisor installs a standard switch automatically. Anyone knows what's the use of that? Connectivity, exactly. So suppose this is a physical NIC, right? Suppose it's a physical NIC. So, and suppose this is a virtual standard switch. Suppose it's a V switch. So you connect as soon as the hypervisor ESXi gets installed in a empty hardware or a bare metal machine. So it connects your virtual switch to the physical NIC at that time. During the installation, it creates a virtual switch, standard switch, and it connects to the physical NIC. Why? Obviously, the reason would be that virtual machines can connect to each other when they connect to the virtual switch. Suppose there are 2 virtual machines or 20 virtual machines here, right? So they will connect to a virtual switch, and they can connect to through the virtual switch. They will connect to each other, share data, or they will connect to the outside world. So for that, and this physical NIC would be connected to a physical switch or a Cisco switch, right? So maybe a Cisco switch outside, but inside it will be a virtual standard switch. So we're gonna spend 4 hours just on exploring what is inside the switch, what are port groups, and what is a VM kernel port. Since I've written it, so port groups are just going to connect you. So virtual machines connect to virtual switch with the help of port group that lives inside virtual switch. So we're gonna go in depth with that later. And just a brief about that VM kernel port. VM kernel port introduces advanced features. Management. Exactly. So VM kernel port has already introduced when we install hypervisor the first time. It has already introduced a feature called management network. But then there are other features like vMotion, fault tolerance, vSAN, right? So yes, sorry. So vSAN. So these are all the features that and others as well, storage. So VM kernel port introduces advanced features. It also lives inside a virtual standard switch. So port groups connect virtual machines. VM kernel port introduces advanced features that requires networking, obviously. So we're going to talk about virtual standard switch, but we understand that the virtual standard switch is, installed when we install a hypervisor. At that time, it gets installed, automatically connects to the physical NIC, whatever is there. How many? Well, one is there. Yeah. So if we go back here, vStandard switch is there. So describe the storage technologies supported by Vsphere, and then configure virtual storage using iSCSI and NFS storage. So what are the storage technologies that are supported there? Then there is what is VMFS data store. So this is all about storage we're going to talk about and configure. So if we go back to the diagram here, suppose you have a physical disk here, and so physical NIC is their physical disk. If I go for P disk, that just means physical disk, and if I go for physical NIC, that's PNIC. If it's a PNIC or picnic, no, it's PNIC. So physical NIC. So the physical disk here, on top of which the hypervisor gets installed, so it has to format that disk with a file system called exactly VMFS. So VMware file system. VMFS is VMware file system, and it has to partition it with the help of data stores. So you can have one data store on the disk, and on. So what happens? First of all, file system is VMFS on a physical disk. On top of this, you partition it with data stores. So this means a virtual machine, when it is installed, it has to put its virtual disk on a data store. Virtual machine will not see a physical disk. It will see a data store. So if virtual machine sees a data store, that's it. It can be installed. If it doesn't see a data store, it won't get installed. There is a exceptional feature called RDM. If RDM is there, then you can use a direct physical disk, but we're going to talk about that. But otherwise, virtual machine doesn't know what is a physical disk. It only knows, oh, I have a data store. Okay, that's where I'm going to put my virtual disk. So in one physical disk, you can have multiple data stores as well. So okay, just like we have in Windows, C partition, E partition, you can just partition it. So okay, suppose it's a 1 terabyte physical disk. So you create a 500 GB data store, then you can create a 500 GB more data store, right? So then you can put virtual machines here, virtual disk or virtual machine here, virtual machine here, virtual disk here as well, right? So this data store can be created with the help of VMFS. What is VMFS? VMware file system. VMware file system, right? So that VMware file system has to be there in order to support all the advanced VMware features. Suppose you ran out of storage that was formatted with VMFS file system. So you can also use Linux based NFS, network file system as well, right? So you can use Linux based NFS, which is network file system. And then so we were talking about SAN. So we were talking it talks about iSCSI. So the storage, different types of storage I'm talking about here, but this is just a brief introduction. We're going to go in depth with them. So if I go back to one of my diagrams where we were talking about SAN here, quite messy. So this is the SAN, right? And these are the two disks that are being shared with the two hypervisors as LUNs or shared disks over the network. So you can use SAN in two ways: fiber optic, and iSCSI. With fiber optic, obviously you need to have the fiber optic cables, fiber optic switch, fiber optic network card to be purchased and implemented in your data center, which means thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But iSCSI simply works on Ethernet. Your cables that are already around you in your data center, in your labs. So, but iSCSI obviously will be slow. Fiber optic will be very fast, right? Depends on, you get what you pay for, right? So, so fiber optic or iSCSI Ethernet. So we're going to definitely use iSCSI, and we're going to use a software SAN. We're going to create a software SAN that's going to share the two disks with the hypervisors, and it's going to be iSCSI based SAN. So when we talk about storage and SAN, we're going to use iSCSI, and the local disk will be formatted with VMFS, which is VMware file system. And on top of that, for partitioning, we're going to use data stores. It's going to create data stores, so virtual machines can actually use a physical disk. You create data stores because you need to create you need virtual machines to use that storage. Okay, so we talked about then some brief introduction about storage as well, and then it goes down to how Vsphere client to create virtual machines, how to create virtual machines. That's a piece of cake. Well, okay, so we're going to create virtual machines. We're going to check all the features of virtual machines, templates, clones, and snapshots. War of the clones, no, just clones. And so how to create templates. Templates are created to create clones. So how to create a template, we need to understand that. That is also called golden image. That is also referred to as the main image or golden image, right? So, but when we create, how do we create templates? How do we create virtual machines and clones and snapshots? Snapshots are just copies of point in time. It's also considered as point in time backup. So we could have a copy of the configuration of virtual machine. So suppose you mess up now today a virtual machine. If you had a snapshot 1 week ago, so you can go back to that snapshot. So then it says create a content library. Content library is like a file server. So content library, you can save ISO images, you can save templates there, so it could be accessed later, right? So content library will be just like a file server within VMware environment. Oops, okay, so then please ask all participants to mute their audio, or you mute all of them. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just yeah, there's a lot of sound coming from. Okay, I'll try to. Yeah, all others are muted. So there's only one. I'm connected to college as well. One college. So I think there's overall sound is coming from there. But if I mute that, then I won't be able to hear them, their questions. So, but yeah, we'll figure that out as well, maybe in next class, before the next class. So there's a lot of online disturbance is coming, or kind of sound is coming. Okay, anyway, manage virtual machines resource usage and manage resource pools. So this resource pool is a very interesting feature. Resource pool is that If you now that's very lots of messy lines here. So I'm just gonna go for another virtual machine here. And resource pool just means that, hey, you have some VIP virtual machines, and then you have some non-VIP virtual machines. So some critical workloads, some non-critical workloads. So suppose that one is SQL Server, you cannot afford it to be going down anytime. Others are like file server that has just ISO images that is infrequently accessed. Another file server is also infrequently accessed. So resource pool offers you to reserve memory and CPU. These are the most sought after components or features or services. Every machine is saying during peak times that, hey, I need memory. The other machine say, no, I need memory. Hey, I need CPU. No, I need CPU. So when they are fighting for the memory and CPU, so you can actually reserve that. Suppose whenever SQL Server starts or it is migrated here through vMotion, then it must have 64 GB RAM, not GB, and it must have we can say 40% of CPU. So suppose you reserve it. So whenever SQL machine starts, so this much will be given to the critical workload right away, and whatever is left will be divided among the other machines, right? So resource pool, you just it is all about CPU and memory. Now they have added bandwidth as well, but CPU and memory are just like we have here the most important commodity, gold. So there the gold is CPU and memory in virtual environment, so they all fight for it. Why don't you just reserve for the critical workloads, so they could be up and running all the time, or they should not be unacceptably slow. So we're good. Wow, all of a sudden it's very quiet. Guys, are you able to hear me? So guys, are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Oh, you're able to hear me. Okay, so yeah, all of a sudden there was no disturbance at all. So okay, thank you, and thank you for confirming on WhatsApp. So are you able to seriously? I just started talking about, are you able to hear me? And that's another concept. Okay, seriously. So here, resource pool we were talking about. All of a sudden it's very quiet and it's so serene. Okay, okay, resource pools we talked about, and then we're talking about vSphere vMotion, which and vSphere storage vMotion. So what is vSphere vMotion, and what is vSphere storage vMotion? So okay, well, so here we're talking about then the VMware. So I'll just keep on creating more diagrams here. So if you have two machines here, two hypervisors here, then what we can understand from here is that if your virtual machine needs to migrate, so obviously the virtual machine, suppose there's a SAN here, and that SAN is providing you all the shared disks or LANs, right? So those disks are here, suppose, right? And you have LAN 1 or over the network share disk 1 and over the network share disk 2. So the virtual machine has its virtual disk actually created on SAN, on LANs, right? So that's a virtual machine disk. Now you get a ticket that hey, this server A6I01, suppose O1 server and O2 server. So O1 server is really slow right now. It's unacceptably slow. So this is the situation where you have to migrate a machine or live migrate a machine from one server to another. So because this LUN is connected to this hypervisor and this hypervisor as well, so the virtual disk does not move, virtual disk remains there, but the virtual machine, it migrates with its memory contents. So memory contents are just, you know, the virtual machine loaded on it, and also some users who are connected and their files are open. So that information is the memory content here, and those memory contents are moved. They are like very small in size, so they move within seconds from over a LAN, while the virtual machine is moving and it reaches here. So for maybe 1 or 2 seconds or 3 seconds, the users will click, 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 and it will, the users will, user screen might freeze. User screen, they were working on some file that was opened on this machine, and while the machine is moving, which is very few seconds or maybe milliseconds even. So the virtual machine, so the end users will click, 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 and it will be frozen, right, for a few seconds. As soon as the machine reaches here, it will still be connected from this physical server, because it will load in the memory of this server, right? As soon as the virtual machine load on the memory of this server, wow, that's a very bad way to say, right? Memory. So it loads on the memory of this server, then still the virtual machine has no disconnection from its virtual disk. So that is called vMotion, where you are migrating the machine from one physical server to another while the users are connected to that machine. And then what is storage vMotion? So storage vMotion is just that you are actually migrating the virtual disk of a virtual machine or all the other files of a virtual machine from one storage or LUN to another storage or LUN, logical unit number, or another storage, pretty much. So virtual storage vMotion just means that if this LUN is slowing down, if this LUN or shared storage is filling up fast, so it will migrate virtual machines files. Maybe it's a memory file, maybe it's a snapshot file, maybe it's a configuration file .vmx, or it's a full virtual disk .vmdk. It will move that virtual disk away from one LUN to another LUN. That is called storage vMotion. Storage means files of virtual machines, files of VMs. Now those files are the hard disk file .vmdk, and then .vmx, that's a configuration file or the brain of the machine, .vmem, which is the memory file, and then so on. There are so many other files, right? So those are the files here, and then you can move. So vMotion, virtual machine moves. Storage vMotion, files of virtual machine move. That is storage vMotion, right? So that is the vMotion and storage vMotion. And then we come back to describe the methods for protecting and recovering virtual machines. So that is encryption for the virtual machine. So when virtual machine starts, the machine is encrypted, and when you want to open it, actually it gets decrypted, so you can actually work on it. And when it shuts down, so it is encrypted again. Or if the data is at rest, which means it's not moving, then encryption happens. So describe the methods of protecting and recovering virtual machine data. So protecting will be that you will encrypt it, and recovering virtual machine data. So this is also we can use backup for that, and we will use actually Veeam backup. Maybe you've heard about Veeam before. Veeam is a virtualization. It backs up and replicates. The Veeam company is a third-party company. It's not a VMware company, and it offers backup solutions as well as. It's very famous in the market, and Veeam just simply offers backup. So we're gonna use actually that. So some students in previous Vmware courses were saying that, hey, we have Veeam, or we have heard about Veeam, so can you use Veeam backup and show us how to do that? So we can use any backup solution. So this is one of the most famous ones that you will see in the market as well. So we're going for backup slash replication solution, and that is called Veeam. So you can back up a full virtual machine. If you delete the virtual machine, you can recover it from that backup as well. So that is Veeam backup. Then how to recover, you can recover from backup. Or if you had encrypted machine, how to recover, we're going to talk about that. So create and manage vSphere cluster that is enabled with VMware high availability. So what is HA, and then what is DRS? So we can go for, if there is a virtual machine here, and that virtual machine is obviously its virtual disk is on a LUN here, right? Logical unit number. Now what happens if the physical server goes down? Now physical server goes down, so what happens? So that virtual machine will shut down. So we're talking about HA right now, right? HA, or high availability. So this virtual machine, which was loaded on the memory of the physical server, will also shut down. But because its files were on a LUN, this LUN, and that LUN is also available from this hypervisor as well. So what will happen is the VMware Vsphere, it will restart this machine on any surviving hypervisors, because the files were on the SAN or the LUN. So that's why the files will be available from here. So it's going to just access the files, and it's going to restart that machine on another hypervisor. The benefit is that the users don't have to stay disconnected for a long time, and the machine. But the disadvantage is that there will be a downtime here. Now, when HA is involved, obviously, if the physical server goes down, you cannot use vMotion in that case. So you have to use HA, which will restart that virtual machine into another physical server. vMotion is for that if the server is slowing down. If the server is unacceptably slow, you vMotion away the virtual machine from here to there. But if if you lose the whole server, then vMotion will not help you at all, right? So that's why yes. Viewer 6 is saying on the chat, so we're gonna work on Veeam. Yes, sir, we're gonna work on Veeam. So for backup, we're gonna just use that. So okay, guys, we're talking about HA here, and this is high availability, but HA is having a downtime, but it restarts the machine as soon as it detects that, oh, it's not up anymore, and it's going to restart on a surviving hypervisor, and that's the time the machine takes to start is the downtime. So whenever it starts, there you go, users are connected again. So that is HA. Then what is DRS? DRS is such a good automation feature, that a distributed resource scheduler. Distributed resource scheduler, and that is a resource scheduler. So it reschedules the resources. What does that mean? So if your virtual machine, it automatically every 5 minutes, it automatically checks if the CPU and or RAM are are available enough for VM. If there's a threshold, always you can give DRS a threshold. Hey DRS, if there is 70% of CPU and RAM is available then keep it on this hypervisor. If it is less than that, go ahead and vmotion automatically that virtual machine to that hypervisor that has enough CPU and RAM. So you're telling DRS, hey DRS, if any of my critical virtual machines are on a hypervisor that is no longer having enough CPU and memory, please migrate it automatically to that hypervisor. So analyze that too, that which other hypervisor has more CPU and memory, and then vmotion that machine to that CPU. So this means that it's so automated that you can just put it on DRS, fully automated and aggressive. Those are the two configurations there, fully automated and aggressive. After that, you can do some other work, or if the boss finds you that hey, you put every machine on DRS and then you're sitting doing nothing, so they might even fire you. I'm just kidding. Okay, so the thing is that it's so automated that the boss might not even need you. Okay, no, they still need you, don't worry. So the thing is that DRS automatically checks if the critical resources like CPU and RAM are enough, keep the machine on the hypervisor. If they are less, then analyze where else, which other hypervisor has enough of CPU and RAM, and vmotion the machine to that hypervisor. That's the purpose of DRS, right? So, but it also goes for this, bandwidth as well now. So if there's enough bandwidth, suppose it's an Exchange server, it's an email server, which needs a lot of bandwidth, and bandwidth is slowing down here in this server, so you can migrate it here where the bandwidth is more, right? Okay, so now here there are some more, and that is distributed switch and update manager. So we're just going to talk about then distributed switch is just that. Suppose you have two hypervisors. Saturday evening, my kids are jumping. I'm at home. Seriously. Okay. Next week, I'm gonna be in college, so you won't hear those screams. My kid, they're playing so much. Okay, so what happens here is you have switches here, where standard switches here and here. Suppose these are standard switches. So suppose these, you have actually 200 hypervisors. So you need to handle 200 virtual switches. So the boss says, hey, can you create another port group for sales department? Okay, can you create another, can you make a change in 200 switches? So when you make a change in 200 switches, you have to connect to each hypervisor one by one and make that change. I'm connecting to 2 hypervisors, so that's not a big deal. But when you have to connect to 200 hypervisors, that's a big deal. So then you install a distributed switch. So distributed switch gets installed. So these will be standard switches, and this will be distributed switch. So distributed switch simply can handle the networking of thousands of virtual machines and virtual switches centrally. It can deploy policies, networking policies, to thousands of virtual switches and virtual machines. So distributed switch is just central switch. You can say the big boss, the big wig, whatever. So then we go ahead with update manager for patches. So obviously, just like Windows has WSUS, Windows Server Update Services, so you can have update manager as well, or VUM. VUM is just update manager. Now VMware does not release that many updates as Microsoft, so you don't see a lot of updates. Whenever there are updates and you want to deploy it on hundreds of hypervisors, so you use VUM for that, right? And ESXi configuration compliance, so that's really important, and that is that configuration compliance. It just means that if you have 200 hypervisors and you have to make sure that they are all compliant with the configuration. What does that mean? Suppose a junior admin comes and makes a change here because of a ticket, and he could not resolve it properly. So he made a change that was a workaround actually. So configuration compliance actually can be set up every 15 minutes or 10 minutes to check the configuration of every hypervisor. Suppose there are 200 hypervisors, so it checks the configuration. If it finds that, oh, the configuration is changed, so either it will report that change to the administrator, or it will actually make that change or undo that change. So this is called desired state configuration in Microsoft and with PowerShell, and this is also this is called configuration compliance here. So if configuration changes anywhere within 15 minutes, it is detected and put back to what was the configuration before. That is. So there's a question from viewer 6, and that is, if DRS is there, then what is purpose of vMotion? So vMotion is just migration without regard of how much CPU and RAM is available, and you do it manually. DRS analyzes how much CPU and RAM is available, and then it decides to use vMotion to move virtual machines. So vMotion is just the tool that DRS uses to move the virtual machines back and forth, while vMotion is it's a migration feature. So yes, DRS intelligently decides whether to use that. And how does it decide? It analyzes the CPU and memory available. So yeah, there's a big difference between vMotion and DRS. Okay, so here I'm just going for some quick ones because time is running out now. So describe how Vsphere storage APIs. So storage APIs just means application programming interface. So how different storage applications or storage components can connect to integrate with Vsphere. So there is HP SAN, there is a NetApp there. So we'll try to check that, or at least in theory, we're going to try to discuss that how do they connect. Then configure and use virtual machine storage policies. This is just that. Suppose you have SSD based LANs, and then you have a bit less performing storage there. So you can make storage policies there that you can actually label the SSD based or much faster disk based storage, give a label to that, and then give a label to the slow performing storage as well. So you can label them as well if you want. Configure VMware vSphere storage IO control and VMware vSphere storage DRS. Storage DRS is an IO control. It just means that if you have DRS, distributed resource scheduler, again an automated process. DRS will check, oh, storage is running out here. Oh, let me move that storage to another virtual disk, or all the data in this LAN to another LAN here. So so storage DRS just means that the DRS automatically checks and analyzes and makes a decision whether to move or not because of some of the configurations inside DRS. So you put a threshold, hey, if the LAN reaches 90% of the disk space, DRS, would you just move all the data from here, or would you move 40% of the data that is or would you move this folder, that folder, that folder from this LAN to that LAN? So storage DRS would just means that automatic decision making of whether to move the data from one storage to another or not. So that's storage DRS. Encrypt virtual machines for additional security. Okay, that's encryption again. We're going to talk about what is required for encryption. And then, seriously, I thought that was course introduction. Okay, that was final. I was going to say, oh, seriously, I thought that was the final slide. But there is more. No, that's just course introduction. Seriously, what was I doing till now? Okay, so I have to just edit that slide. So guys, these were all the topics for the course. That's quite extensive, but my purpose is to make sure that you understand all the concepts, and then we implement them successfully and test them, whatever is doable in our lab. So it's my job to offer or to make every complicated concept appear as a simple one. So, but it's your job to really then understand and redo, and repetition is the goal here. You repeat that, you get confidence on this technology. You don't repeat that just once is okay. No, that's not okay. That's a complete waste of time if it's just once. So try to redo that. So visit these concepts again, make your notes, and put it in your create some summaries there, and prepare your notes for the interview. So guys, if there are any questions till now, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be so this is the overall information of the course, and I'll be sending some software to you and whoever's emails the management has given me, and you can contact me here on WhatsApp for any of the questions there. And if there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be creating those accounts there. These accounts you need to create yourself. Vmware.com free account, mylearn.vmware.com free account. Stick to one Gmail, Yahoo. Do not use multiple emails there, and do not use your college email to create those accounts. And whatever email you use, you need to send me that so I could create your VMware student login info, or VMware official student login info. So it will be on the VMware site itself, your account. So other than that, just take a picture of that. And so if there are any questions, let me know, guys. Otherwise, this is it. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend, or whatever is left of it. If there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, kind of bye bye. But yeah, I cannot hear anyone now because it's one way now, I guess. It's not two way. So there's still a question. We will get these slides you have prepared after every lecture. Yes, sir. So you need to have Office 365 account with NetPlus and college. And well, once the management gives me the emails that these students I can share data with, so I will be sharing data with you at that time. So it depends on the accounts, actually, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay. So if there are any questions, let me know. And yes, I cannot hear any audio. So that's it. So okay, guys, this is it. If there are any questions still, otherwise we meet next week, 10 minutes before the start of the class. Thank you, sir, and have a nice weekend. Okay, so I'm closing down and closing the video.